What is up, guys? So Riot have finally revealed new items and the item changes that are coming with the Mage update. Some of these are super cool, some of them are super weird, but let me know what you guys think of them. Like this video if you did, dislike it if you didn't, but let's jump in. So the first one, the Chalice is being reworked, given a new passive. Basically 15% of the damage taken from champions is now gained as mana, and 15% of your mana spent is gained as health. This is a super cool but kind of weird change as well. Like, I think there'll be a few weird interactions, like getting used to it. The best time to go in and fight a mage normally is when they're on no mana, right? But now as you start to kill them, they get their mana back and will be able to fight you back. Plus they will then heal on top of that. This is completely changed from a lane sustain item like it was before to now a combat item. So staying with the kind of mana idea of things, the tier now, mana regen is removed, but again gives us back 25% of the mana we spend. Tier kind of before used to favor the low cost, low cooldown spells, right? To stack with like Ezreal's Q, for example. But now, actually in theory, this could be good even for bigger spells. Chalice is a bit different now as well, and it's kind of confusing when you read this. Basically, if our health is lower than our mana, then we gain health regen. If our mana is lower than our health, then we gain mana regen. That is confusing, but basically whichever stat of yours is lower, we regen. So it's a nice total sustain item now, not just for mana. Finally, the first of the new items, Lost Chapter, a new item that basically replaces the old Catalyst, but now only gives us mana back when we level up. There isn't really much to say about this, honestly, because it's just replacing the old one, I think, but without the health regen as well. Morello and Athene's has always been this, like, which one do I buy? And most people go for the Morello. It's more of an offensive option, and now they are completely making a distinction between the two. Morello now builds out the new item, Lost Chapter, but has no mana regen, but it does give us flat mana instead. The mana regen isn't going to be that important when we've completed it anyway, and the Lost Chapter gives us mana regen before, like when we're laning and stuff. Actually, you could probably pair it with another mana regen item and do pretty well together. Athene's has less mana regen, less AP, but it now is basically a support item. This is kind of cool. The new passive on here basically stores up damage you deal to someone, and then when you heal or shield an ally, you consume that stored damage and heal the ally. Basically, imagine a Lulu does some damage to someone, right, and then shields her AD carry. That shield will now heal the AD as well. Spell Vamp is getting a bit of a rework, honestly. Well, kind of actually they're removing Spell Vamp from almost everything. Will of the Ancients is basically just a Spell Vamp item, so that is already in the bin. That is removed from the game. So Hextech items before were kind of this like Spell Vamp item, right? But now they're actually new items that have this powerful active on them with a relatively low cooldown. You can see the stats and stuff on screen. If you want to pause the video and look at the stats, that's fine, but we're just going to talk about the active part of it. So for the Revolver part of this, when active, your basic attacks deal damage on hit. This is probably the least cool version of them, so we're actually going to go move on to the other three because they are all really cool. The Gunblade is kind of the same, but it now instantly shoots a bolt that slows, but it does double the damage it used to, so it's actually a relevant amount of damage now. Now we have two new items though, and these both are actually really, well, actually one of them is really cool. So the names may be changed, but the Rocket Belt one, this basically gives you a dash. You dash in a direction and then release a bunch of fireballs that do damage. This is so awesome anyway. Not only is it really cool, but actually if you think about it, any mage that has no escape or mobility, right, they build this and suddenly they can just use it to get away in a fight. Yes, it does have like the offensive capability with the fireballs and stuff, but this is a really big deal for immobile mages like Syndra or Victor because they can use it to escape things. So this one, the GLP07A, that I really hope they change that name, but this builds out of the Catalyst and has the new passive. Remember getting mana back from damage taken and health back when you spend mana. The active though throws an arc of bolts, so kind of like a cone I guess, that slows people, hit, and then damage them, which is pretty ridiculous. I would love to see this on like a LeBlanc, honestly. I know it sounds really weird, but LeBlanc kind of struggles from sustain anyway, and if she can slow and damage people while she's bursting them down, that is absolutely crazy. Rod of Ages is staying kind of the same, but is getting a pretty hefty nerf actually, it seems really. So yes, we do get the new passive, but all the stats are being lowered, although it's now 500 gold cheaper too. It's weird though, because like you really want to maximize slot efficiency on a mage, and this was an item you built early, and it wasn't that good early, but then it stacked up and you'd be stronger later and later. Now it's like cheaper, but worse at the start. I don't know, that seems kind of odd to me, because it's the opposite of what you're buying a Rod of Ages for, like a stacking item, but I guess we'll have to see when that's actually released. Cooldown reduction is the next kind of big topic, I guess, and Zhonya's and Abyssal Scepter are now getting cooldown reduction. These two items, while kind of offensive now, are actually going way into the defense side of things. The cooldown of Zhonya's is up another 30 seconds to 2 minutes, which is really actually very long time, plus the AP is down 30. Yes, it's 500 gold cheaper, but this is now really a defensive item, and I think we'd only buy this if we need the defense desperately, like the stasis part of it. I don't think you'd actually ever buy this as kind of a mix of the two. Abyssal Scepter has a bunch of smaller changes, but the big ones are it has more magic resist, slightly less AP, 10% cooldown reduction, the aura doesn't affect minions so your wave clear is less, and the aura now scales with level. It's really strange because right now Abyssal is a good laning item. It gave defense and offense, which is I guess actually probably why they're changing it. Now it's way more defense focused really. You wouldn't buy this in lane, I don't think. You'd buy it later into the game if you need some help against an AP champion. It's still got the offense parts there, but it's more about protecting yourself. The last little thing is about magic resist. These are all slight changes, but the general idea is that the magic resist items are getting nerfed in some way. Although there are some kind of buffs and stuff, the big things are the magic resist is down on Spirit Visage and the health is down on Banshees. When putting the two together, basically the Visage is now more focused on the healing side of things, so if you can actually heal, then that is probably a good thing to have, but the Banshees is a go-to item if you need magic resist. So that wraps up the new items. What do you guys think of these changes? I honestly think some look a bit weird, but it is really cool to see new stuff, and some of them, like the rocket belt, is awesome. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, but for now, let's go to the robots.